Okay, welcome back. This is part 4 of our interview with Isaiah Leon Savage, candidate for mayor of Whittier. And we're talking about finances, and along with finances goes into economic growth, economic development, sustainable and green development. I wanted to ask about this. Um, there's an issue with the trees, for example, where some people were upset because they wanted to chop down the trees in uptown and put new ones in. But if you go to the top of the current parking structure that we already have, or even to the top of the Hellman Trail up here, and you look down towards Whittier, you can't even see the city because there's already thousands of trees here.
Well, see,
So I asked Rolando this: does it matter if we cut down like 10 or 15 trees when we still have thousands left over?
yes, it does matter. I'll tell you why it matters. You know that new parking lot over on Comstock in Philadelphia?
The building?
Yes, and you know the Salvation Army building, and you know that was the reason they never tore that building down because there were white owls living in the tower. It was the Whittier Conservation that had that building saved because there were white owls. It became a part of a natural habitat for an endangered species. They ripped out all 3 of those trees. Now, white owls only have so many habitats that they feel comfortable in.
Right.
They felt comfortable right there. The city council chose to come out and rip out their whole habitat. Well, all right, they're on the endangered species list. That means the federal wildlife reserve can come after us.
That's true.
So they're not thinking. They're not thinking it through. And I mentioned that to the city planner. You did not think this through. Because if you had, the minute you ran into endangered species, wildlife, habitat, should have been stepping away from that parking lot. But yet they ripped it up.
And speaking of the public parking lots, what gets me is because we have parking congestion in Whittier, especially here in Uptown. It's very hard for local residents to find a place to park because there's not enough street parking and there's not enough on-site parking. And the new law is you don't have to have parking at all. Yet the city has all these parking facilities in the immediate area. They're like close by, but businesses are allowed to use it for the customers, but when the businesses are closed at night, local residents are not allowed to use those facilities, even though it's local residents that are paying for the upkeep of those facilities. We're paying for the new parking structure, but we're not going to be allowed to use it. I was told that the new parking structure, in addition to the one we have already, is already set aside for PIH employees only and for local businesses. But they're not going to allow residents to use it.
Well, here's the thing. They shouldn't want to use it because here's the thing. The more they work on these parking structures and all this so-called construction they got on, the more they're in violation of the Constitution. None of this stuff is even supposed to be happening. Right now, they are operating illegally. You can look it up. They are operating illegally. That parking structure, illegal. Fred C. Nellis, illegal. Whatever happened in Hacienda Heights, illegal. That school next to East Side Middle School on Whittier, illegal. Because it's all a part of Agenda 2030, what they used to call Agenda 21. However, it's unconstitutional. It's illegal. So this is what I wanted people to focus on. They are breaking the law currently as we speak. The more, like I said, the more they work on it, the more they break the law. So it would just be our better position is to come out in numbers and show our strength with petition, with our constitutional right. Serious. Those stop signs over on Broadway and Broadway and Pickering, and that fence, by where Lincoln Elementary used to be.
Yes.
That took me petitioning and getting Lincoln Elementary and all the other people in the community in that area to petition for stop signs. Now I know other politicians want to take credit for it. I don't care. But that's the power of a petition because they know they have to answer.
Because we're here at Central Park right now, and this park gets used a lot for concerts and for movies, but we have a lot of other parks that go unused that get neglected. Like we got Lee Owens, we got Anaconda Park over in East Whittier, we have another park over there down by the quad. I forgot the name of it. And we also have John Greenleaf Whittier Park right over here on Whittier Avenue by Whittier High School. And those parks hardly get used at all, and the city's not doing enough to encourage their use. What would you do to encourage people to use their local parks that don't get used that often?
They need upgrades. You see, theirs been upgraded, but they need upgrades. Children are inquisitive, they're adventurous, their minds are like constantly moving, so they need like stimulus. They need to upgrade the park. This is good for like a 3-year-old.
The current council member for District 1, Josue Alvarado, lives right around the corner from John Greenleaf Whittier Park. But during his entire time on the council, he's done a lot of great things. He brought back the fireworks show at Yorkfield, but I have not seen him promote the park that's right around the corner from his house. I mean, shouldn't we...
Well, I've heard that people here in town and at the meetings accuse him of not showing any spine. And it pretty much seems like none of them are doing what's best for the community. That's bottom line.
That's the first I've heard that.
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard it from anybody else.
Yeah, none of them do what's best for the community. None of what's going on in this community right now is benefiting this community based on consideration. Now, in a contract, the word consideration, it has a balance to it. It means there must be a detriment and a benefit. There's no consideration for this community because the community is catching all the detriment and they getting all the benefit, meaning the money. Where's the consideration? Where's the benefit of having 1,897 child predators living in a city that's full of children? Where's the benefit to the city? There's a detriment. Now, they get a benefit because they get all the money. Now, you got to understand, these guys get a house, these child predators get a house, $3,000 a month, even some of them get cars. Remember the guy that had the car? He took the 11-year-old and the 9-year-old right over there, Broadway Park? Yeah. Had a house to take him to. Got $3,000 in his pocket. Thank God the 11-year-old showed some real courage, some real savvy, and they got away. And then when they caught the guy, he did a minimal amount of, excuse my language, he did a minimal amount of time. So I'm not really holding anything back from this administration because they are pathetic. They are disgraceful. They have put the American people in this community in a situation that we shouldn't be in. And instead of taking action and literally going out and doing something about it, they just sit back on their little high chairs and, give this aloof look like, oh yeah, we don't really know what you're talking about.
No, you mentioned previously that you came here in 1992. I believe it was from LA, is that correct?
Yeah, Los Angeles.
Okay, Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm going to assume that we pretty much grew up in the same era, back in the 80s.
District 1?
And what I remember is that back then, they were, and I brought this up to the other candidates, they were talking about, for example, there would be everyone would be driving an electric vehicle or a flying car, there would be charging stations everywhere. There'd be solar.
Remember that?
And
remember, right? They didn't deliver on nothing.
I mean, 40 years later, almost 20 years later, some people...
Almost 30 years later. That's been 28 years, man.
30 years later, and it still hasn't happened. And they're telling the same thing, putting the same stuff into today. The heads of today's students coming out of school. That we're going to be fixing this for you guys and this and that. It's like, well, wait a minute. They didn't do it for our generation. What makes them think they're going to do it for their generation?
However, here's the thing. This is the beautiful position that the community is in. Once we denounce this Agenda 2030 and denounce the sanctuary city, we will be able to bring back federal funding, federal grants. In the works right now, me and some other people, we want to work with the farmers down at Fred C. Nellis. That place should not be going under what it's going under because one is state property, which is federal property. But because this is a beautiful one. Because we want to work with all the farmers here in Whittier.
Yes.
Because Fred C. Nellis is state property and federal property, we'd be able to write a grant to put a university there and make it an agricultural university to where it's accessible to all the children in the community.
Well, there's two issues with that, because I remember when Brookfield got its approval, the community agreed to let the council support it in exchange for a promise from both the city council and from Brookfield to include low-income housing. But the new development that's coming out, all the housing is for high-income earners only, and there's no low-income housing. There's no senior housing.
It never was meant to be.
All the housing they're putting in is for the wealthy only. People, and what I'm hearing is that a lot of the housing is for people making more than $250,000 a year.
It's not, and see, that's not going to happen. You're not going to exclude
that doesn't seem right
the working class American like that. Not on my watch. See, this is the thing.
Mean, isn't that a breach of contract?
It's a breach of contract. It's actually a breach of good faith and fair dealing, because the 5 parts of a contract is good faith, fair dealing, the offer, the acceptance, and the consideration. It's a breach of the good faith and fair dealing because they said it was going to be affordable housing, which we find out it's not. It's a breach of the offer because they offered affordable housing. That's the only way they got the acceptance. So now here's the
So how are they still able? And I want to ask one of the council members this. I might ask Warner when I see her on Monday. Is how is Brookfield still being allowed to go forward when they're in breach?
Oh my God, the Brooks Corporation. You need to look them up, bro, because they're being sued by